Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to the inaugural Game Creators Summit presented by IGDA Seattle chapter with the assistance of the big guys at IGDA. This is the first of what we hope will be an annual affair. Having lost the Login Conference as a host conference here, and Casual Connect moved away, so although we're still friends. But we think that it's important that Seattle have a host hometown event, and so we're doing this to help get that started. First of all, I guess I should thank our sponsors, our event sponsor, Amazon, who yesterday launched their Indie Portal initiative, which should be pretty interesting. You'll see more about that in just a minute. And also Moga, if you guys, who got a Moga? Everybody got a Moga? Yeah? Free Mogas for everybody. And also to the Casual Game Association for who do Casual Connect for sponsoring the reception this evening. That, by the way, tell your friends it's open to everybody, so that's not just for attendees. And that'll be from 7 o'clock until 8:30 in the Pop Lounge over here. We got a lot of stuff to get through, so hopefully we'll get to do that. But before that, I would be remiss if I didn't thank our local IGDA Seattle team that put this together, and that includes Ellen Kay, Sean Seam, who've both been extremely helpful, Luke Burtis, who helped us, who's new to our group and has been a great contributor, Megan Perry, Nick Uring, Zach Watley, who's our email guy, who sent you all those irritating emails, Anna Purdy, and Brandon Enrick, and Sella Davis and Tom Swanson, who helped us set up with Andre Stackhouse, who's going to be videotaping this for us. Thank you, Andre. Try to stay awake. I saw you napping there. Anyway, so we're going to get started now, and I'd like to start this off by introducing Jason Chein. He's from Amazon.com, and he's the head of their, what is it, the GameCircle. Game Services. And he's going to tell us all about that. Let me see if we can do this without messing it up. There you go.
All right, thank you.
Just look up at him, and it's already made.
All right, great. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me here. The first Game Creators Summit, first speaker.
Yeah.
Super lucky. If I may, can I see a show of hands? How many of the audience here today are indie game developers? Good, majority. I think I have the right deck for you. And how many of you develop games for the mobile devices? How about PC and Mac? Both.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good cross-section. All right, so let's get started. Let me share a little bit of background about me, and I want to say that I have a tremendous amount of respect for game developers like you. I have went down that path 20-some years ago, and things are very different now. Back in the days, if you remember these guys, all right, that's what the technology we were working with. And I'm not as old as you think, by the way, so when I started to tinker with games as a little indie developer, I was fortunate enough to work with these instead. Fancier. And one of my first games I tried to build was a mashup. I took the ball and paddle mechanic from the classic Breakout, and then I tried to mash it up with bumpers and kickers from pinball games. Unfortunately, I couldn't find a working floppy drive to load up the game to grab a screenshot to share with you today. So if you do have one that works, let me know. Okay, good. Now I just need to find that floppy disk. I often get asked, Amazon and games, what does that mean? And when we look at the games industry, we see three major touch points. One is Amazon Web Services, AWS. In last year's Game Developer Magazine survey, we found that 54.8% of the developers use AWS for their backend. And what AWS did is it it turned a traditionally a fixed cost into a variable cost. Now, developers like you can scale your operations up and down through the life cycle of the product. You don't have to worry about buying server upfront, and if the game didn't take off, then you have to worry about keeping that hardware, amortizing that hardware, and so on and so forth. Or if your game is a huge hit, you don't have to go issue a PO, wait for the hardware vendor to deliver something to you, and you have to, co-locate it, all that. AWS took all that muck away. And we have a store for Android apps. It's also the backbone that powers the Kindle Fire devices for their apps and their games. We released this in March of 2011, more than 2 years ago, and over time we have added more APIs, more technology, more services to make it even better. Things like in-app purchasing, like device messaging, like mobile ads, or if you are a game developer, then achievements and leaderboards through GameCircle. Now, more than 2 years has gone by. The App Store is now available in nearly 200 countries worldwide. Lastly, Kindle Fire. We released this in November 2011, and it became the best-selling product ever in the history of Amazon.com. It has over 10,000 five-star ratings, and in just 9 months, captured 22% of tablet sales here in the United States. And when we look at it, we see our job here is to help developers like you to make games faster, to make more money, and to reach more customers. So that's how we see Amazon and the industry, how we connect. And yesterday, like Tom mentioned, we released our indie store. It's awesome because it now provides a platform for PC, Mac, web-based game developers to distribute their content. We launched this yesterday with over 400 titles, and more than 200 of them are on sale now to celebrate this milestone. And of the 97 million monthly unique visitors to the Amazon.com website here in the United States, they can now discover, purchase, download, and play these indie games. Games like Super Meat Boy, like FTL, like Triple Town. And on a weekly basis, we will be featuring an indie developer. We'll share their stories, we'll share their games. It's another way for us to introduce these great content to our customers. If your game has virtual items or virtual currency, you can even sell those directly through the Amazon.com website. Or use our in-app purchasing API for the PC and the Mac, and we will handle all that transaction for you. To learn more, I will share our contact information at the end of this presentation, and you can help us to achieve a goal. Our goal is that we want to distribute every single indie game that's ever built. We want to offer those to our customers. So if you have a game, let us know. Love to have it in our store. Now let's get to some of the lessons that we have learned as a store operator. And we are lucky that because we are the operator, we can observe the industry trend from our point of view. And yes, the industry is moving toward free-to-play. Why? Not just because there's more money to be made there, but I think what free-to-play, the business model, has done is it has removed the initial barrier, the initial friction for the customers. People don't have to pay to play. Now they can enjoy the experience and put a value, assign a value against the experience you have crafted for them through in-app purchasing. we found that players don't spend money on games anymore. They spend money in games. So looking at this, with this shift, games that are more engaging, meaning games that take more of the player's time, are performing better, monetizing better. And it's just a simple reflection of the saying, time equals money. So here I want to share with you this interesting chart. This chart illustrates number of in-app purchase orders in relationship to when the app was first downloaded. So a lot of orders are happening up front when the app first gets downloaded. And what this says, if time equals money, timing equals more money. Diving deeper, we found out you should engage your customers super early, because 16% of a customer's value is recognized within that first day. And you also want to keep them inside your game. It's common sense. But why? 48% of repeat purchases happen within an hour of the previous purchase. And obviously you want them to come back. Give them a reason to come back. Because 67% of all purchases are repeat purchases. Meaning someone has made a purchase and they come back and they come back and they come back. And 52% of the revenue is recognized occurs after the first 7 days. And more interestingly is 44% of the revenue occurs after 30 days. You no longer get to ship it and forget it. If you ship it and forget it, really, over about half of your revenue is left on the table.
Just a question to clarify, are you talking first 7 days after launch or first 7 days of retention of a player?
First 7 day of when the app is installed, so that should be the same, right? Retention and launch, that should be the same.
From game launch, first day of the game going live.
Oh yeah,
So
yes,
retention.
yes, yes. Okay. And we see that customers are having a greater awareness of in-app purchasing, and they are actually embracing it. And developers are also gotten more sophisticated with this tool in terms of their merchandising or pricing strategies, in terms of utilizing this approach. And altogether, compared to 6 months ago, we've seen a conversion of a free user to paying customers has gone up by 47%. So this trend is very real, and this trend continues to grow. And selection drives repeat orders. What does this mean? This means that if a game has more content available for sale, they get more orders over time. So as you build and launch your game, think about how you're going to sustain the growth of the game with more content. And as you introduce new content, how do you re-engage those customers, paying or not? And 2% of your paying customers generate 30% of your revenue. Awareness of your in-app offering also leads to better conversion of free users to paying customers. Here, in this example by Pet Shop Story, what they have done is during their tutorial phase of the game, they introduce in-app items and the value, the benefits of these in-app items. And we found that games that do this in the tutorial, they have 2.5 times greater conversion rate than the games that don't do these. And selling these items is actually more science than art. We found that games that utilize the concept of a catalog, utilizing tiles, grouping items by feature, by functionality, rather than by pricing, leads to better results. How much better? 75% increase in your average revenue per paying user. And you also want to refresh your player's memory after their initial tutorial. So throughout the game, when they get to the point where they convert into a paying customer, we found that games that offer post-purchase tutorial on how to use these items lead to 65% higher repeat orders. And for games, if you have engagement mechanics like achievements, like leaderboards, these are the services we provide through the GameCircle API. What we have found is that this also leads to higher in-app purchasing conversion, 38% higher. And then once these customers are converted, it leads to 33% higher in repeat orders for a combined uplift of 83% to your ARPU. Earlier, I talked about having more selections is better for your business, but that doesn't mean having more price points. We found having too few price points is actually a bad thing, meaning you don't have enough price buckets there for the customers to understand the difference in value proposition of what you are selling them. On the other hand, if you have too many of these, it leads to confusion and potentially frustration by not being able to tell what is worth more or less and why. We found the optimal range turns out to be between 6 to 10 price points. So as you think about what you offer to your players, I want to share this interesting chart with you. Right here, we take all the in-app purchasing items in the marketplace, the Amazon store for the Android app marketplace. And we've cut it down to 8 price buckets. Right here, we have from 99 cents all the way out to $99.99. Let's look at the orange bars first. It's the percentage of total assortment. Meaning that right here, we're looking at almost a quarter of all these in-app purchase offers, items, are priced at 99 cents. Makes sense. Low entry price point. You want to offer something for people to get started. And there's also a distribution across the $199 and the $499. So in summary, most of the games start with low price points and then sort of gradually bump up and at the $199, $499 price point. Now let's look at the teal colored bars, the greenish blue bars to the right. This represents total, the percentage of sales. And what we're seeing here, interestingly, 1/5 of the sales came from the $19.99 price bucket. And also very healthy with the $4.99s and the $9.99s. And let's not forget to the far right, the $99.99s. Yes?
Is that 1/5 of purchases or 1/5 of?
Orders.
Dollars.
Orders. Units.
Oh, it's not dollars.
It's not dollars.
Not dollars. Units. So if you compound that, if you do the math, it's quite surprising. Okay. But what I want to show here, though, is if you compare this same chart against the top 50 performing apps, rather different in terms of the mapping on price points. It's much more evenly distributed. You don't have that heavy concentration around the 99 cents and the 199s. And the result is actually very fascinating because the 1999 price point, the most popular one in the slide earlier, we actually saw an increase from 20 to 24%. And you also saw an uplift for the $49.99 bucket and the $99.99 bucket. If you have a game that's compelling, that's engaging, your customers are willing to pay for it. And this leads to the last set of data I'd like to share with you this morning around sensitivity. So when we look at the sensitivity on price, meaning that if we make a change to a price, does it change the volume? And we saw there's a high price sensitivity around low price items. Meaning that if this item is relatively cheap to start with, by increasing the price, you actually drive down the volume. On the other hand, for high price items, that sensitivity has gone away. And if you look at sensitivity across the life cycle of the app, here we're looking at the average selling price of your in-app item. And the baseline is day one at 100%. In that first 30 days of the app ownership, we are seeing a steadily increase in the average selling price of the in-app items, up to 60%, 30 days later. So I think this speaks to that. As you think about your offering, think about the charts I shown earlier, you want to have price points that are friendly to your early customers, but as well as price points in the mid and high range for your more engaging players. So that's all the stats I have that I'd like to share with you this morning. And if you're interested in using any of the Amazon services, like GameCircle, like mobile ads, like device messaging, or if you have an Android app you like to distribute, go check out developer.amazon.com. And if you're an indie developer with a PC and Mac game looking for distribution for on our store, please email us at findmoregamers@amazon.com. Thank you.